but it was a Raptors game where they could have lost by 40. They lost by 7. I want to be upset, but I love the fight. Let's break it all down for you in tonight's post-game show. This is a classic case of the Raptors this season where they play well for 40 minutes, but an 8-minute stretch, whether it's decision-making from the coaches, the personnel on the court, the way people are playing, whatever the reason is a classic case of the 2022-2023 Raptors where you play well for 40 minutes, you lose it in 8. The 8 minutes, that 8-minute pocket is enough that you cannot overcome it. And it was so bad today for the Raptors that they put themselves in a 20-point hole as a result of that 8-minute stretch here. The Raptors were down by 1 point at the end of the first quarter. 1 point at the end of the first quarter. It was 31-30. They were down by 20 at halftime. There was an ugly 8-minute stretch to start the second quarter, which put the Raptors in such a hole that despite the fact they were excellent in the third quarter, excellent in the fourth quarter, they could not overcome. They could not get back into this game. And you know what? They played well. They matched up well. I did not expect the Raptors to roll into the Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia and win this basketball game. The Sixers are excellent. They're fighting for a top 2 spot in the East. Joel Embiid might win MVP. It was not a game I was expecting to win. But I certainly wasn't expecting us to go down by 20. And the fact that we lose by 7, and we made it tough, we made it competitive, it was 103-101 at one point, it's like, I want to be upset about the game. But I'm also like, we played well. But it's just, again, another pocket of this game where the Raptors lose it in an 8-minute stretch. It's personnel on the court. Achua can't defend anything at the rim. I'm frustrated that once again, there was an 8-minute stretch where Precious Achua played a good chunk of it and could not defend the rim. I'm frustrated that the 76ers bench plus Harden absolutely dominated us. But I'm also upset at Nick Nurse for seemingly solving the bench problems of this team. There was this like start of March. My God. The bench, 5 minutes of the bench would lose you the game, let alone 8 minutes of the bench. But I'm frustrated that Nick Nurse did not go to Christian Koloko when ever since Koloko has come back into the rotation of this team. I'm frustrated that ever since Koloko has come back, this team has looked better. The bench has looked better. But today, for some reason, Nick Nurse was afraid to go to Christian Koloko. I understand the thought process here. The Sixers bench was what? It was McDaniels. It was Reed. It was House. It was Harden playing with the bench guys, and it was also, give me 1 second to check here. Blanking right now, sorry. And it was also Shake Milton. Small ball team, right? Harden point guard, Shake Milton at the 2, Daniel House at the 3, McDaniels at the 4, Paul Reed at the 5. Like that was the bench unit for the 76ers. So you're a little bit afraid that Koloko is going to get put on the perimeter. He's going to get torched on the perimeter. You know, the thought process, okay, is there, but then in actuality, Paul Reed is a center. Am I afraid of Paul Reed being on the perimeter? No, I can hedge off of the screens. I can hedge off of any sort of action they run on the perimeter and be okay. But Nurse didn't go to Koloko. They got so many good looks at the rim. By the time he rectified the situation by bringing Pirtle back into the game early, they already built momentum. All of a sudden, they couldn't miss from 3. Harden hit some ridiculous step-back threes, some ridiculous, into-contact threes, and the game was blown wide open. Your game now is a 20-point game. It was just so quickly how it all changed, and I think a lot of it, we saw Koloko in the third quarter and the start of the fourth. Koloko looked good. Koloko looked fine. But I mentioned that as it was happening, why is Koloko not in? Why are we going away from what has worked for this team? And it was a reminder that, once again, Achua can't be your rim protector because when he is, you get destroyed. They destroyed us. And in that 8-minute stretch, you go from a chance to a loss. And as much as the team fought, and I applaud them for the fight, I applaud them for performance. Look, Wells Fargo's a tough place to play. The Sixers are one of the best home teams in the league. The Sixers are the third best team in the NBA, full stop, period. You played well. You made it tough. You fought back. It was 103-101 after being down by 20. But the fact that those mistakes can cost you, and Nick Nurse himself has spoken about the bench, and he said specifically about the bench, like, you just need the bench to stay even. In fact, Nurse has said in the press conference, that same press conference, like, you can get like a little bit of a negative from the bench. That's okay. Like, that's good enough from the bench the way they played this season. And though I agree with him, we've kind of found a formula that has rectified the issues with the bench. But despite, potentially finding not the solution, but a little bit of a Flex Seal sort of job on it, if you will, we go away from that in this game, and it cost us. Maybe things are different if Koloko is there. Maybe it's the same if Koloko is there. I don't know. But it is just frustrating that that sort of thing has worked, and we decided not to do that today. And, we lost to the 76ers. I'm so hung up on the brief bench minutes here. Like look at the bench minutes. Like, Koloko played 7 minutes. Achua only played 7 minutes. Dowden played 9. Boucher played 8. Like, I'm so hung up on such a small portion of this game. But, like, when you look at it, that cost us because Siakam played in that those bench minutes there, and he was a minus 15. But, who didn't play those bench minutes? Scotty Barnes and Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet somehow, some way in this game, ends as a plus 8. He didn't shoot well, but in the minutes he was off, that was the stretch without Koloko. Barnes, same sort of thing. He was plus 1. How was he plus 1 in a game we lost by 7? Koloko was a plus 4. And plus minus is not the be-all, end-all of these statistics, but it's a showcase that, like, I'm so fixated on these bench units. And Koloko, a 33rd overall pick, why am I so fixated on this one small part of the game? Because that small part of the game is the reason we lost. Once again, those small parts of the game are the reason we lose. We allowed 46 points in the second quarter alone. 46 points in the second quarter alone. The Sixers in the second half, 2 full quarters, scored 40 points. Third and fourth quarter combined, the Sixers managed 40 points. 46 in the second quarter. These are the small things that have not been accounted for. And a bit of that's on Nurse. A bit of that's on the team. Achua's got to be better. But, like, we know Achua can't defend the rim. So why are you putting him there again? I knew he was going to get towards the rim. That's all I've seen from him this season. So why do you expect it to change here against the 76ers? It didn't help that Harden was playing like a superstar MVP caliber player. But, like, we could have expected these things to happen. And to Nick Nurse's credit, he adjusted second half. He put in Koloko. He took off Achua relatively quickly, but the damage was done. Things didn't really improve when Poeltl came back into the game. I will concede that Poeltl came in for Achua, and things still didn't improve. Much of that was because Harden just could not miss, and the Sixers could not miss. They shot, 77% in the first half. That came down all the way to an unbelievably bad 56% from the field for the 76ers, but the damage was done. It's those 8-minute stretches. It's those small stretches of the game that just plague us. And the stars on this team have been so good together since the trade deadline. The lineup of VanVleet, Barnes, and Anunoby, Siakam, and Poeltl has been so good since the trade deadline. It's had a good net rating. They've been positive when they're on the floor together. It's been great. But the depth is not here. I believe this team can succeed with those starting guys, but the depth is not here. Depth comes from the draft. We have not had success in the draft recently. We've just not had draft picks recently. I mean, there's some years we don't have our first round pick, like the most recent draft. Yeah, we got Koloko. I'm pretty happy with getting him at 33rd overall, but man, could we have had something better at 22nd? Like the guy you had instead, Thaddeus Young, right? You traded that first for Thaddeus Young. Well, what's he doing today? He's getting another DNP on his $8 million contract. So decision-making has gotten us to this point where the depth is so bad, so you lose in those areas. But Nurse has not been dealt a good hand, no, but he could be doing better with the hand that he has. That's the biggest thing about it. So Nurse in the pregame of this game was talking about how he's going to sit back and reflect. What does he want to do with his career? What does he want to do this season? He's been in the Raptors 10 years. Since 2018, he's been here as the head coach. Now, I'm not fully sold out, like completely out on Nick Nurse. I don't want to fire him. I don't think we should replace him. That's not what I'm saying about Nick Nurse, but certainly some questions should happen. Nick Nurse wants to reflect on his position. Well, I think the front office should reflect on Nick Nurse's position. Again, with 1 year left on his contract, I'm not saying I want to fire Nick Nurse, but I'm letting him know he's on thin ice. And if things don't improve next season, then maybe I do want to change the head coaching position. Nick Nurse is a great coach. I still believe that, but sometimes you need to change things up. Sometimes you need to shake things up and just get something different, a different perspective. That all makes sense. Again, I don't want to fire him right now, but man, there's been some bad decisions here, and some players need improvements, for sure. There's a lot going wrong. And you know what? In the end, if you just look at this on the surface, hey, Raptors only lost by 7 to the 76ers. That's an acceptable result. But when you look at the second quarter, you lost the second quarter 46 to 27. When you look at that, when you fixate on just the small things that cost the game, and it's happening time and time again for this team, where that small pocket of the game is the reason you lose. You have to question why that continues to happen. Why is it always this that is going wrong? Why is it so repeatedly these small aspects of the game that shape your season so drastically? It can't just be coincidence. They're correlated. Things go wrong. Adjustments need to be made. They took too long. 5 minutes, 7 minutes on Achua was too late today, and it cost us. What we learned positively, though, to end on this, is that this team fights. There's still talent in this team. They do well. Scotty Barnes, I mean, man, 29, 9, and 8. What a game. 4 steals. What a game, right? There's positive takeaway. Pirtle, 14 points, 10 rebounds. What a game. OG on offense. In the month of March, OG had the highest effective field goal percentage in the NBA. OG in March, the highest effective field goal percentage in the NBA in the month of March belonged to OG Anunoby, higher than Nikola Jokic. Crazy, right? There's some positives to take away. But why, out of all the positives, do the negatives, the small amount of negatives, cost you your win? That's the question. And that is where we'll end. Thank you guys so much for watching this. If you guys want more Raptors content like this, subscribe to the channel and drop a like if you enjoyed. Hit that thumbs up button. A small animated thumbs up human hand could be the difference between this video reaching more people. It's that important to me. Hit that like button. We'll see you next time.